Okay, good day everyone, and we are now at our fifth pre-recorded discussion after we tackled the special operators which can be used to our next type of control structure. And maybe you mastered all the functions of each operators, and that's the relational and the logical operators. So now let's go back to the discussion on how a branching structures look like. Okay, so first we have to define what is branching is. Okay, so branching refers to a binary decision based on some condition. So when we say a binary, so it only have a two option, okay, which can be 1 or 0, or true or false, or can be yes or no. If the condition is true, so one of the two branches is explored. Because in branching, as what I've said, it has a two options that we can go on. And if the condition is false, the other alternative option is taken. Okay? And this structure is also known as the selection structure. Okay? Let's say for example, so write an algorithm to find the greater number between two numbers. So as what the problem stated, we have to compare the two numbers if kinsa ang mas dako nila. Okay? In this case, we have to use the F statement method to compare these two numbers. Okay? To think that this problem has two numbers to be compared, so we have to use also a two variables to hold that value that we have to compare. Okay, so let's start. So step 1, start. Okay, so next is step 2, read or input A. Step 3, read or input B. So after two numbers are inputted, then we have to compare these two by using F statement. So in step 4, if E is greater than B, then we have to use another variable again to hold the result. So if this is true, then the value will store to Gn variable, which is our new variable again. Okay? Then in step 5, if B is greater than A, then greater number or Gn is equal to B. Okay? So after all numbers are compared, then whatever the value that's stored in Gn variable, then the system will print on it. Okay? And step 6 is print Gn. So whatever the value has a Gn. Okay? And step 7 is N. Okay? So now, let's put some value of these two variables to check if our algorithm is correct. Okay, now let's put some value on it. So let's say E is equal to 9 and B is equal to 5. Okay, so this is only an assuming. So if I am a user, so I will put an input a 9 for A. I mean E is 5 and then 9 is B is 9. Okay? Now, if A, which is 5, okay, is greater than B, which is 9, is it true or a false? So, dako ba si 5 kay ka 9? So, if true, then we assign a value on Gn. Okay? Kay mas dako man si 9 kay ni 5, and then it is a false. So, we cannot put a value to Gn because it is a false. Instead, we proceed to step 5. So, if B, which is 9, is greater than A, then mas dako ba si 9 kay ni A? So, it is a true. And because of that, we put a value on Gn. In other words, we execute the then statement only if the condition is true. Okay? Did you get it? Now, let's see another example. Okay. So, another example is this. Okay. Problem number 2. So, create an algorithm to find the largest value of any 3 numbers. Now, at this moment, we only use a relational operator to our algorithm. Take note, ha? And the other one is to compare also by using the logical operator. If asa ang correct nga algorithm nila. Okay? So first, we have to create an algorithm by using a relational operator. Okay? And based on the problem, we have to compare the three numbers if which of them are the largest. Okay? We have to think also how many variables that needed in the problem. Is it 2? Is it 4? Is it 5? Or is it 3? So, syempre, since we will compare 3 numbers, then we have to create an holder or a variables to hold these 3 numbers. So, mag-needed taog 3 variables na atong i-input. Okay. So, let's start. So, step 1, start. Okay, now, for step 2, we have to input 3 numbers nga ato i-compare. So, step 2 is input num1. Step 3 is input num2. Step 4 is input num3. Okay? After all numbers are inputted that we have to compare, then let's proceed to comparison. So, for step 5, so this is it. If num1 is greater than num2, then we have to store our value in ln variable or largest number nga variable. So, ako lang lagi abbreviate. So, ln is equal to num1 if it is true. Okay? Step 6, if num1 is greater than num3, then ln is equal to num1. So, as you can see, akong gi-compare si num1 o si num2. And then, after that, ako na sang gi-compare si num1 o si num3. Okay? If asa nila ang true, and then, ilan nang isod ang value sa ln. Okay? So, next is step 7. So, unsa pa may mga possible natong i-compare. So, ari na sad ko ni num2. So, if num2 is greater than num1, then largest number is equal to num2. Okay? If num2 is greater than num3, then largest number is equal to num2. Okay? Next is step 9. If num3 is greater than num1, then largest number is num3. If num3 is greater than num2, then largest number is num3. So, as you can see, ako nang na-compare tanan. So, whatever the value nga imong i-enter ani nila, and then it will result into a largest number. If not, then your algorithm is not correct or is wrong. Okay? So, step 11, after all the comparison, then print the largest number or ln. And then, step 12 is n. Now, to check that algorithm if it is correct, then we have to use a sample value. Okay. Take note that you cannot command the user nga unsa dapat ang iyang i-input nga number. Okay? Now, let's try to put a value for the, so, for example, si user 1. So, mao ni ang iyang i-input for num1, num2, and num3. Okay? So, for the user 1, so, he or she input num1 for a value of 3. For the num2, nag-input siya of 7, and num3, nag-input siya of 5. Okay? Now, let's check if the algorithm is correct. Okay? So, if num1, which is 3, is greater than num2, is it true or false? Is 3 greater than 2, true or false? So, it is a false. So, dili ko mo proceed ni ln equals num1. Di ba? So, as what I've said, we will only proceed to then statement if the condition is true. Okay? So, since num1 is not greater than num2, then dili siya mo proceed ani. Okay? So next, is num1 is greater than num3? Is it true or false? Is num1, which is 3, is greater than num3, which is 5? So it is a false. So num1 or ln has no value yet. So wala siya mo proceed sa din nga statement. Okay. So next is if num2 is greater than num1. So is it true or a false? So num2 is greater than num1. So num2 is 7 and num1 is 3. So the answer is, so mas dako ba si 7 kani 3? So the answer is true. Okay? Then ln will be num2, so which is 7. So atong ln nga variable is nanay value nga 7. So mo ni siya ang latest value. Okay, next is num2, which is 7, is greater than num3. Num2 is greater than num3, so it is true. And then we proceed to then statement. Okay, which is ln is equal to num2. So since si ln naa na value nga 7, and then iya na nang replace ni num2 gihapon, which is 7. So the latest value of ln is 7. Okay. Now is if num3 is greater than num1. So num3, which is 5, and num1 is 3. So is it true or false? So the answer is true. So then ln is equal to num3. So num3 is 5. So our latest value of ln is 5. Okay? So next, is num3 is greater than num2. Is it true or a false? So mas dako ba si 5, num3 is 5, and num2 is 7. Is it true or a false? So the answer is false. Then print ln. So what is the latest value nga na-store ni ln? So latest value nga na-store ni ln is the num3. Di ba? 5 dire. So num3. So is 5, di ba, num3 is 5 is the largest value? Sakto dili. Di ba? So sa kani pa lang nga input, wrong na siya. Di ba? So this algorithm is wrong or incorrect. Okay? So dapat whatever value nga imong gi input, bisag kinsa pa nga user, makuha jud ang sakto nga output or ang largest value. So let's try another algorithm. Kani. So same problem. Okay? And then we have to put a value on it. Okay, so first, step 1, start. Step 2, input num1. So we input also the 3 numbers like we use on previous algorithm. Okay, input num1, then input num2, then input num3. Now let's try to compare these 3 numbers by using the relational and logical operator. Okay, so if num1 is greater than num2 and num1 is greater than num3, then largest number is equal to num1. Okay, so akong compare si num1 ka num2 and ako nasa ni compare si num1 kang num3. Then whatever the result is, if it is true, then the value of num1 will store to ln variable. Okay, next is step 6. If num2 is greater than num1, okay, and num2 is greater than num3, then largest number is equal to num2. Next is if num3 is greater than num1 and num3 is greater than num2, then largest number is equal to num3. Okay? After that, print largest number. And then step 9 is end. Okay. Now let's try to check this algorithm if it is correct or not. Okay. Let's try to put value. So same value sa previous na to nga algorithm. Okay. So if I am a user, so I will put or I will input a value for num1 is 3. For num2 is 7, num3 is 5. Okay. Same value. Okay. We will check if this algorithm is correct. Okay. Let's try. So if num1, which is 3, is greater than num2, which is 7. So is 3 greater than 7? Is it true or false? Is 3 greater than 7? Okay, so the answer is false. Okay, and num1, which is 3, is greater than num3, which is 5. Is it is it true or false? So it is a false. Okay, false and false is what? False or true? So, false and false is false. Then, I will not proceed to the then statement, which is this. So, ln now has no value yet. Okay? Now, since it is a false, then we will proceed to step 6. Okay? If num2, which is 7, is greater than num1, which is 3. So, is 7 greater than 3? Is it true or false? So, answer is true. Okay? And num2, which is 7, is greater than num3, which is 5. Is it 7 is greater than 5? So, the answer is true. Okay? So, true statement and true statement or expression. So, the answer is true and true is true. Okay? Then, since it is a true statement, then we will proceed to then statement. So, ln is equal to num2. So, what's the value sa itong num2? So, 7. So, now, the value of ln is 7. Okay? Okay, next. If num3 is greater than num1, so 5 is greater than num1, so the answer is true. Okay? Num3, which is 5, num1 is 3, so is 5 greater than 3, so the answer is true. And num3, which is 5, is greater than num2, which is 7, so is 5 greater than 7. Is it true or a false? So the answer is a false. Okay? So true and false is false. Okay? So we will not proceed to then statement, which is ang ln. So then print ln. So what is the latest value of ln? Diba? So sa step 6 ra siya ni sod sa then. So ngarira ni true. So latest value of ln is 7. Okay. Saktong. So 7 is the largest value of these three numbers. Is it correct or wrong? Okay. So it is correct. Now, let's try to put a value of or some value. For example, we have another user and they put this value to these variables num1, num2, num3. So ato i-change ang value. So muna akong gingon, dili ta kabuot sa user if unsay iyang i-input. Okay? Now, let's try to put some of this value. So num1 is 5, num2 is 3, num3 is 4. Okay. Now, if num1, so let's try to put this num1, then this is num2, and this is num3. Okay. Num1, which is 5, is greater than num2. Is it true or false? So, is 5 greater than 3? So, the answer is true. Okay? And num1, which is 5, is greater than num3, which is 4. Is it true or a false? So, is it true? Okay? So, true and true is, the answer is a true statement. Then, we will proceed to ln or then statement. So, ln is equal to, what is the value of num1 is 5. Okay? Next, so remember, our latest value now of ln is 5. Since si num1 iyang gisud or iyang gi-assign ang value ni ln nga variable. Okay, now for step 6, if num2, which is 3, is greater than num1, which is 5. Is it true or a false? So the answer is false. Okay. Now, bisan pag mo proceed ko diri and then false na diri, so it will answer a false statement. So basta na ko makita ang usa ka false, then delete na lang ko mo proceed sa next nga expression kay bisan pa og false ni diri and then the rest is true, then it will result to naman false statement basta and operator atong gamit. Okay. Now, step 7, if num3, which is 4, is greater than num1, is it true or false? Is 4 greater than num1, which is 5? Is it true or a false? So the answer is false. So false. So even it is a true statement, then false and true will answer as a false statement. So asa ra dapita ang nag-true statement or nasudlan ang atong ln. Okay? So sa step 5. So ln is equal to num1. So ang atong latest value sa ln is 5. So is 5 nga value is the largest value of the three numbers? Is it correct or is it wrong? So 5 is the largest value. So meaning this algorithm is correct. Not dili pareha sa katong previous nga algorithm. Okay? Now, let's try another algorithm. Okay? So, create an algorithm that can identify the largest value of the given three numbers even the two or three numbers are equal. So meaning if pareha ang duha ka numbers, let's say for example ang num1 is 3 and then ang num2 is 3, then ang num3 is 1, so bisag ang duha parehas, then maotoy largest value nga nakita sa system. Okay? Bisan pa sila ang tulo pareha, then silang tulo or kanang value nga dako nila maunay pinakadako nga value. Okay? Okay? So let's try if sakto ba ang atong algorithm. So step 1, start. Step 2, read or input given num1. Step 3, read or input given num2. Step 4, input or read given num3. So after that, all variables or numbers are inputted, then we have to compare this 3. So sa dekalainan ani sa previous na to nga problem. Okay? So at this comparison na natay equal. So katong previous na to nga algorithm is dili to siya maka-check. So wala to siya ma-display if ang inyong value is pareha tanan or naay duha ka value nga pareha. So pwede to ninyo i-check ang previous na to nga algorithm if mag-try mo og input nga value nga pareha og sulod. Okay, so kani let's try to put a value nga pareha og sulod. And then iya i-trace ang largest value. Okay? So in step 6, given num2 is greater than or equal given num1, and given num2 is greater than equal to given num3, then ln is equal to given num2. Okay? Next is if given num3 is greater than or equal to given num1 and given num3 is greater than or equal to given num2, then largest number is equal to given num3. After that, print the largest number and then step 9 is end. So unsay kalainan ato sa previous? So nanatay equal, greater than or equal. So if pareha sila, then sila ang largest value. Okay. Let's try to put a value of this. Kani. So arita ni user 3. And then num1. So let's copy this. And then I will try to put num1 as 5. Num2 is 5 also. And num3 is 9. Okay, let's check if sakto ba ang itong algorithm. Bisan pag unsa nga value akong input. Okay. So, given input given num1, 5. Input given num2, 5. Input given num3 is 3 or 9. Okay. Given num1 is given num1 greater than or equal to given num2. Is it true or false? So, the answer is num1 and 2 is equal. So, it is a true. And is given num1 greater than or equal to given num3. Is it true or a false? Num1 which is 5 is greater than or equal to num3 which is 9. So the answer is false. So true and false is false. Then dili ko mo proceed ni then nga statement. Okay. Next is if given num2 which is 5 is greater than or equal to given num1. Is it true or a false? So the answer is 2 greater than or equal to num1. So the answer is true. Because equal sila. And given num2 which is 5 is greater than or equal to given num3. So is 5 greater than or equal to num3. So the answer is false. Diba? Okay, mas dako si num3. So, true and false is saman is a false. So, wako ni proceed ni ln. So, our latest value of ln is blank. So, wala pa siya isod. Okay, now, if given num3 which is 9 is greater than or equal to given num1. So, is 9 greater than or equal to 5. So, the answer is true. Next is if given num3 is greater than or equal to given num2. Is it correct or wrong? Or is it true or false? So the answer is true. Okay? Given num3 which is 9 and is greater than equal to given num2 which is 5. So true and true is true. Diba? So, mo-proceed ko ni then nga statement which is i-assign ang value sa given num3. So, given num3 is 9. So, iyang assign value ni ln. And then, print ln. So, the largest value is, so, the latest value of ln now is 9. So, print 9. Then, end. So, is 9 is the greatest number of these three? Is it correct? Or is it wrong? So, it is correct. Now, let's try to put a value of this. 9, 9, 9. So, let's try to check if the 9 is the largest value of this 3. Okay? So, muna akong gingan, even the 2 or 3 numbers are equal. So, siya may pinakadako sa tanan, then sila mo ay the largest value is 9. not the variable. Okay? Okay, so let's try to check if makuha ba ang largest nga value nga 9. Okay? Now, so read or input given num1 is 9, given num2 is 9, given num3 is 5. So if given num1 which is 9 is greater than or equal given num2 which is 9. So is it true or a false? So the answer is true. Okay? And given num1 is greater than or equal to given num3. So is 1 is 9 greater than or equal to num3. So is it true or a false? So the answer is true. Diba? Mas dako si 9 kay ni 5. So true and true is what? True, diba? So then we proceed to the then statement. So ln is equal to given num1 which is 9. So the latest value of ln is 9. Okay? Next is if given num2 which is 9 is greater than or equal to given num1 which is 9 also. So is it true or a false? Okay. So the answer is true. And if given num2 which is 9 is greater than or equal to given num3 which is 5. So is it true or a false? So is it or it is true. Okay. So true and true is true, diba? So then we proceed to then statement. So ln is equal to given num2 which is 9. So our latest value of ln now is 9. Okay? Now let's proceed to the next step. So given num3 which is 5 is greater than or equal to given num1 which is 9. So is it true or a false? Dako ba si 5 ika 9? So the answer is false. So and given num3 which is 5 is greater than or equal to given num2 which is 9. So is 5 greater than or equal to 9? So the answer is false. So false and false is false. Then we will not proceed to ln nga or then nga statement. Okay. So print ln. So now what are the latest value of our ln? So the latest value of our ln is 9. Okay, good. And then step 9 is n. So is 9 is the greatest value of all these three numbers? Is it correct or not? So it is correct, di ba? So meaning this algorithm is check. Okay? Did you get it? So now we have also this another example. Okay? So write an algorithm to determine if the grade of the student is fail, pass, or no grade or NG. And then print the remarks of the grade. So after you input the grade, and then it will give a remarks if failed ba na siya, pass ba na siya, or NG based sa range sa iyang grades. Okay? So, let's say for example, if mag-input ko og 75, so asa na siya ma-range dire dapita. Si 75. So, si 75 na range siya ni pass. Okay? If mag-input ko og 81, 72, asa siya na range nga remarks. So, naa siya sa failed. So, mo na atong buhatan og algorithm nga mo check sa grade if pass ba siya, failed, or no grade. Okay? Now, let's start. So, step 1, start. So, try to analyze the problem if unsay mga needed nga variable nato. Okay? So, based sa problem, so we have to input a grade. Diba? And then, mabutang if whatever the result or the comparison, it will give us a remarks. Okay? So, we have to input a grade. Next, unsaon siya pag compare. If pass ba siya, failed ba siya, or NG ba siya. Okay? We have to compare the grade nga gi-input if asa siya na range. So, if grade is greater than or equal to 75, meaning, if ang grade is greater than pataas or equal to 75 pataas, and grade is less than or equal to 100, so na-range siya. So, from 75 pataas and below or equal to 100. So, if masul siya ng range, then remarks is equal to pass. Okay? Next, step 4. If grade is greater than or equal to 70, meaning greater than or equal 70 pataas. Okay? Greater than or equal to 70. And grade is less than or equal to 74. So, meaning below or equal to 74. Then, it will remarks as failed. Okay? Then, step 5, if grade is less than or equal to 69, meaning 69 paubos or equal to 69, then remarks it a NG or no good. Then step 6, print whatever the remarks is. And then step 7 is end. Now, to check this algorithm, let's try to put a value on it. So, let's try to put a value. So, grade, so grade is equal to 82. So, dapat, if mag-input kog 82, mo remarks na siya og pass. Okay, let's try. So, muna si user 1 or si student 1. So, ang iyang grade is 82. So, start. Then, input grade which is 82. Now, we have to determine if it is pass, failed, or no grade. So, if grade which is 82 is greater than or equal to 75, is it a true or a false? So, it is a true because 82 is greater than 75. And grade is less than or equal to 100. Is it true or false? Is 82 less than to 100? So, it is a true. Okay? So, true and true is true. So, because it is a true, then we will proceed to then statement which is remarks is equal to pass. Okay? So, we have to pass a value or assign a value to remarks which is pass. So, our latest value of remarks now is pass. Okay? Okay. Next step is if grade which is 82 is greater than or equal to 70, is it true or false? So, it is true. Di ba? Mas dako pa si 82 kay ni 70. And grade is less than or equal to 74. So, is 82 less than to 74? So, the answer is false. Okay? So, true and false is false. Then, The remarks now has not yet assigned or wala siya ma-assign ni. So our latest remarks is pasra. So mao pa ni atong latest nga remarks. Wala siya update ang remarks karon. Kay wa siya mo proceed sa din nga statement kay false siya. Okay? Next step is if grade which is 82 is less than or equal to 69. Is it true or a false? So is 82 less than to 69? So the answer is false. Then we will not proceed to then statement. So print remarks. So unsa ato remarks? So our latest remarks is pass. So now is 82 is a grade or a pass grade or a pass remarks. So the answer is check, di ba? So pass si 82. So i-try ninyo o put some value and then i-check ninyo if musod ba siya sa pass, failed, o NG. So pwede ninyo i-try si 72, 74, 76. So and what if mula pas og 101 or what if mula pas og 69 paubos. So tayo na to. If ang value is 65. So then what if mo ang user mo input og value og 101. So i-try ninyo if unsay iyang display. Okay? Okay? So next is this. This is an oral written participation. Okay? Your answer will be uploaded, or if it is a text or an image file, so you have to upload it to our or to my FB Messenger. So also a private message. So in your answer, i-PM lang sa ako, and this will serve as your oral participation. Okay? And this is I think the third oral participation or fourth. Okay? Then after this, we have a pre-examination or a practice before we proceed sa quiz. So any problem ani sa oral written participation, if na may mga pangutana, so pwede gapon mo PM. Okay? And that's all for today, and thank you and God bless.